And there we go. Perfect. And let's see. I will do the remote control request. And there we go.
Okay, there are a couple of things that came up with this plat when I went out to set the corners that I've got to
Okay.
survey when I went out to set the corners. I've got to reflect it on my plat.
All right.
I couldn't set either of these two front corners. This one landed in a great big stone, and this one landed under a sign that's between these two buildings.
Okay.
So I had to set a 1 foot offset for
Yes.
each one of those. So I'm going to have to label that somehow.
All right.
This one turned out to be a railroad spike in the asphalt. There's a parking area here that overlaps the boundary lines, and then this is a 10-foot easement, and I need to make it reflect
Yes.
that.
Okay.
So there are some I can change these, but I could change that to railroad spike.
Okay. That'd be fine. All right, so the easiest way to, first of all, to change that easement line is just yeah, we're gonna match it, but one might, I think one's in paper space. Unless, let me see, is this? Yeah, see, I think we moved this stuff to paper space. So we're not gonna be able to match it directly from inside the viewport to outside the paper space. So we're gonna just look at it and see that we're on a layer called Legend -2 and a line type scale of 1. So if we double click inside and then select this and put that on access easement would be okay. What's our layer? Let's see what our layer is assigned. There we go. Actually, yeah, dash. So let's use -2. There we go. So that matches that now. And to set the hatch, this hatch is on label table text, so that won't matter. So let's go back to here. Double click inside. Did I get that? Yes. All right. So what we want to do is to set a hat, or to set the crosshatch in here as that solid gray. And I forgot to take a look at 254 and no transparency. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is say,
now that's not a set there, that access easement, it's just one line, I think.
What's that?
I think it's just one line. I don't think I closed it around. I don't think I made a little.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. As long as it reaches, as long as it intersects, we'll be okay. And it looks like it does. Yeah. So as long as that point, as long as there's no little hole, as long as there's no little gap in between the endpoints, these gaps that are drawn in here don't really count. That's still a solid line across this goes through, this goes through that. So what we're going to do is simply select these items when we do a cross or do a, what you call, a hatch.
Wait a minute, where did you go to get that hatch?
Okay, it's over here, this little guy right here, boundary hatch, or you could draw, I think. Now, that boundary polygon is sort of like, oh, here it is. Standard hatch. And we're going to pull this pattern list down. And even though this is alphabetical, the word solid is the one we're looking for. But if you scroll down and see under the S's, it's not there. It's the very first one. You have to go, you have to run the menu, the list back up to the top and choose solid. So we'll do that. We'll set the color to 254 to make it really light. And we will set it in the back of everything. That's just like setting the draw order. There's no transparency. And now there's two choices that we can use to show where to put the hatch. Is you can either right up here, well, there's more than two choices, but there's right now two that are active. One is you can pick an internal point, and if you do that, it's going to look at everything that it sees and then apply these rules here on this island detection if that's on. And if you have I'm trying to find it. There should be a setting. I don't see it. It might be just do it automatically up in here. I think in regular AutoCAD, you can turn on and off whether or not it looks at text, and it will block out, it won't put the hatch in here. It sort of puts a little rectangle around it and leaves it clear of the hatching.
Yeah.
But that's more useful if you use a hatch like these building hatches down here. When we do this solid and put it behind it, you'll see that it's not going to be a problem. But anyway, you can either pick inside of that and let it just spray around and try to find the boundaries, or you can select the entities, in which case you can just select these individual lines and it just considers them within their geometry and goes. So either one of those should work. So if we just leave it on pick internal points, now when you do that, you have to make sure that, and this is sort of weird and it's not very well documented, but you have to make sure that the entire figure that you are picking inside of is visible on the screen. If this were zoomed in and say the edge of the screen cut off this upper corner, it wouldn't find it. And you would think there's something wrong with the geometry. So just keep that in mind when you're doing hatches. You have to be able to see that whole thing.
Okay.
All right. So we'll pick that internal point and let's see if it, yeah, see how it treats the text?
Yeah.
It looks at the text and includes it. Now I'm going to press escape to, I think escape, maybe I'll just, no, I press enter to come back to it. And so there's two ways I can do this. I can either leave this on and come up here and say ignore for the islands.
Yeah.
And then say pick a point. No, I guess not. All right. maybe I have to uncheck using detection. Something that would let's remove. Shoot. No, it's going to use it entirely. So this pick an internal point won't do it with the text on. Let's see if we just simply add. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see here. Let me cancel that whole thing. Let me try this now with turning this off. We'll pick a point. That should be considered closed. Either zoom out so the boundary fully displays or adjust the gap tolerance. So that, that's strange. Let's see. All right, solid. If I don't do any island detection, no. All right, so if I escape it one more time to repeat it. So here's what, instead of doing a pick point, if you do select entities, that's the same as if you freeze off or isolate the ones you want to use or freeze off things you don't want to use. So if you select entities instead of picking a point, you can select, there's a crossing selection on those two lines. And I'll do a crossing selection down here on these two lines. You could get these corners, but it won't matter because we're going underneath them and they have wipeouts in them. So this should be all we need. The text is not selected, so it won't be considered. Is, uh-oh. Therein lies that danger. Let's see. Let's try a different strategy here. If we add these, and we'll just pick. Okay, and no, that's not going to work. It's calculating it in a different order. All right, so when all of those things fail, the way to do what we're trying to do is we're going to isolate these. So in other words, we're going to temporarily turn off this text so that it's not considered and doesn't draw that box around it. So we're going to choose that line, and that poly, or they're all polylines, and we're going to isolate them. Now that is this toolbar, which I need to get. Oh no, let's see here. Shoot. Well, I'm trying to move my, little zoom toolbar, which is up at the top of the screen because I can't see the toolbar. It's underneath it and I can't seem to grab it in the right spot. Yeah, see, I keep grabbing that. Let me do that. Let's see if I do that. All right, I'll put it back in just a second. So anyway, in this, there's a toolbar here that has these little display items. And it's on that, it's called the layers, not the layers. What is that? Yes, layers. The layers toolbar. All the way over on the far right, there's hide by, isolate by, and then show all, which is not the same as this all layers thawed and on. This means just show everything that is set to be thawed and on, if you've isolated them or hidden them. So you can either select these two things or these three pieces of line work and isolate them, or you could select that text and hide it. Either way would work. So if we select those items and then choose isolate by selection. Now that's also under the view menu, I think. Yes, right here, show hide by selection. These are where these are. So we will isolate by selection, and it's going to ask us to select the entities to isolate. So we're just going to select those entities. We'll hit enter. Now we've got a clean figure here, and we should be able to put our hatch back on. I'm going to run the hatch command again, pick this internal point, and it won't consider that text. So there's that. Now notice it goes all the way out, does not cut around those corners yet, but that's okay. We want to make sure that it's going to be sent to back. Yep, that's fine. We'll say okay. It's now sent to the back, and everything else is going to be drawn on top of it. So we need to turn back on the things that we've turned off. So we come up here and say show all. Those get turned back on. There you don't have those things in the way. Now I'll put this back full screen so I can work it. Okay. Now, and notice our points are back to being displayed inside those circles, which that was my guess the other day, was that something was just probably in need of being reset a little bit or restarted. Uh-oh, what's move this? Oh, I see. I had some points selected. Get that off of that line. All right. So now we've got that, and you've got this. Got these offset points. So how do we want to indicate those, Mike?
Well, I guess we could, in the description of the point, label it as a 1 foot offset.
Okay.
I don't know that I've never seen it done like that before.
You mean in the written description or in the point description on the drawing, you mean?
Yeah, and the point description and this,
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what I've ever noticed. I've seen things called witness stake, but that's not exactly what this is.
right.
It's sort of like that.
Yeah, it is sort of like that.
Um, we could leave it just, I mean, what is it physically going to be?
It's 5/8" rebar, just
So,
like I said, for the corner.
yeah, so we could leave that as it is, as its description, and basically not show it, just put it here. We're going to have to, um, and there's two places that we have to define that as an offset. One is in the deed description, you know, to a point that lies 1 foot offset along, you know, however you're going to write that. Okay.
Right.
And then of course we would show the other corner points, either not show them as monumented or show that. Do you have one that says
Unmarked point.
unmarked point? Yeah, so we could do something like that. But then what I would recommend, because they're so close like that, is I would maybe I would maybe leave them shown exactly like they are here, or I would turn off the point entirely for the unmarked point. And then I would draw two little blown up, you know, insets, like a detail blow up, and draw the, you know, and dimension in that they're 1 foot offset. That's one way to do it. The other way to do this might be, and maybe this will be because we got a pretty open looking map here. We can draw some things on it. We could call this, we can go by descriptions here. So if we, let's see, if we call this, where's my, how come this is not staying?
Good question.
My mouse. All right. So we'll leave that drawing description alone, but, or coordinate file description alone, but we're going to call this, let me see. We'll call it 1.0 foot. We'll just call that one offset.
Well, wait a second. If we're going to do that, if we're going to put a decimal and 1 0 there, we better put a decimal and 2 zeros.
All right. Or we did, I guess we could leave it just like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, that sort of implies an allowable amount of slop, but not really. Yeah, let's leave it as this, I think. We'll just call it 1 foot offset. And then for this one, we'll call it corner
think that works better than just changing the symbol to unmarked?
Well, the problem is the symbol is so close to being covered up. We'd almost have to. Let's see. See, I want to somehow. No, let me see. What I was getting toward was being able to do something like this. You know,
Yeah, I think that's good.
let's see, we need to get draw the horizontal. Draw the arrowhead, minimum length with the arrow size and offset. Elevation description is 1. Let's make it.
Just out of curiosity, why don't we change the symbol on that and see what it looks like?
Yeah, that's what, yeah, because see, this is still, I was thinking we would pull these out and have them, and so that sort of brings attention to it, but I'm sort of hoping if we can, let's move this back and say restore. Let's see here. Restore. Yeah, so if we can. All right, so we had this one. Which is SPT 32. Let's just take a peek at this. I wonder if 32, yeah, it's not in the wipeout. We'll have to go back up to points. So SPT 32. Yeah, see, that's. That's the danger. Let me see. Now we're going to put these guys back on top. What do you think?
Well, I think if we label them the way you had them as with a
As one foot
leader,
offset,
yeah,
and then leave the unmarked point just documented like that.
yeah. If they look at that and they look at the legend, they should be able to figure out what it is.
Okay. That's the only, that was my big concern, is that I would like to be able to, I would like for the user of your plat to be able to derive the information they need from the plat. And just to be clear about that, instead of having to rely on some kind of a clause in the property description, you know, which certainly can be further clarifying, but I just wanted to make that part clear. So, okay, I think that might be our approach. So if we go back and set that drawing description to just 1 foot offset. And this one. To 1 foot offset. Then move our points with leaders. Thing is, if I move it that way, it cuts through. I need to move it like this way. That's, the arrowhead gets in the way. If I do it like that, that looks,
What's the problem with putting it out in the street,
well,
over the street?
yeah, because you see how the arrowhead, see, it all gets muddy in there. You can't really tell that it's, see how much cleaner it looks to, right in there's the cleanest way. If I can put it, still need to keep it like down here. So arrow size, arrow offset 0, then label offset. It's 1. Let's see if I can get. Yeah, no, that didn't work. Let's try that back. Oh, there we go. That's a nice option. Turn off snaps. All right. See, I would like that to be up here in the middle of that T instead of down at the bottom of it, but let's see. And also, I would like that to be skinnier. So I'm going to make that a 0.05. That's maybe too skinny. Let's see, a 0.13, 0.1. Let's go with a 0.15. And if I move this, I don't think that's going to move that. All right. So now if we have that set skinnier, I wonder if yeah, see, it's still awfully muddy. Yeah. And I want to sort of make them appear the same. So, oops. That's one thing I wish they would fix, by the way, is that preview. It never, it jumps it by that amount of that horizontal leader. So, oh well. So I'm going to set those down to being skinnier. And then I'm going to just slightly move the actual label. And of course, anytime if you go to move that by leader again, it's going to reset all that. And you'd have to do it now. See, there's a couple of considerations here, Mike, that I was trying to figure out. I would like to be able to do it out in the street. However, the arrowhead confuses the actual graphics in there and it's just too muddy. The problem I have with pulling it to the inside is that anytime you do that, it almost makes you think of that as being something that is pertinent to things on the inside, either the building or something about, something else. So I didn't want to draw attention to that, but of course the leader makes it very clear as to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so, and we don't have to show this as 56 feet and then an outside is a 57, right? I think this 1 foot offset takes care of that. Do you think?
I think so, yeah.
All right, well, let's call it done, and move ahead. So click outside and hit save. And that way I think that unmarked point that shows underneath there is, it's sufficiently different in symbology and it's over here showing in the legend. So I think we're in good shape. Of course, now I'll double click back inside and I'll let you drive. You can change the other point for the railroad spike or whatever you want to use. Nope. Now remember, you can't. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you can select it and look at see what its name is. That's what.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
I got you.
SPT 7.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to double click inside it, remember, to get in the model space. There you go.
Oops.
Yeah. And just click the picture or that one, either one. Yep. And it was, now go back up to the top. Now click that. Go ahead, click that again because that doesn't have the wipeout in it. And see what it says SPT 6 or 7, but go ahead and click that. Now pull down at up at the very top where it says points. You want points plus wipeout. There you go. So there's SPT 7W, the W indicating that it has a wipeout. Very good. Okay. I think that looks good.
Okay, now it turns out that they have the right to, that this was reserved for their use and the use of the property behind them.
Okay.
I think they're probably going to try, it was reserved for use for a railroad siding that never happened.
Yeah.
At least as far as I can tell, it never happened. So they have some interest in trying to acquire this piece of property, which they're consulting with a lawyer about. Do you think the dimensions look bold enough?
Um, well, I don't know. It's a good question. Uh, they're certainly bold enough for the degree symbol to be completely closed up. So there's that.
Yeah.
Now they're not big, like they're not tall, you know,
Right.
like this. And so
I guess
that,
there's really no way of telling until you print a plat, copy of the plat and look at it.
well, yeah, I'm trying to think too. You see, they almost look smaller than the point descriptions here, and I
Yeah.
guesses that they are, because I'm going to guess that these are set to 0.08, and this looks like it's probably set to 0.1. Let me see some settings here a minute. We've got, no, that's all 0.08, and points default is set to no from the defaults. And if we were to draw locate, we would have been 0.08. That's all pretty good. It may be one of those illusions, or it might be that this had tick size. Nope, then tick size arrow label offset. It's different. Tick size. No, see, that shouldn't have changed. Well, I tell you, I can just look at it and see this stupid of me. If I looked at, that's a scale of 2.4, so that is 0.08, so that's okay. And what is this? 1.8, that's actually at 0.06 is their size. Now that came from, wow. Let me see if I can move this.
I can move it to the other screen.
No, yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to, well, here's, I know if I stop remote control, I can do that. Um, a little bit up there, but all right, so I'll go back request. I'm wondering, now it's completely out of the way. I think that's fine. I just wonder if there's something in the new version that's doing that. I've got a little, well, it says exit full screen. That's to me. Anyway, so this came from this annotate, auto annotate in these lines and arcs and such. So where did we have? We had our text. I don't see, I'm gonna go to my general settings. Yeah, right here. See that?
Yeah,
So if we had that as, and the problem is that it leaves it based on the last thing that was, when this was used the last time, it leaves that set. So I'm gonna say okay, and then I'm gonna say cancel, just to set that back. Because I don't really want to go through and auto annotate everything. I just want to change these things now, because it's simple enough to do, even though I'm not using the Carlson command. So I'm going to gather up. Actually, I only really need to get one. And then if I select similar, I make sure by looking at the grips that nothing else is selected, no other text. I think that's okay. So now I've got all the text. Over here, I see at the top that my in my properties that I've got all 12 items and they are text items. So now they have common features shown down below. If it's common, if it's not, it will say varies. And the height says 1.8. So at 30 scale, 0.08 is actually 2.4. So I'm going to change that and they're going to get bigger. And I'm going to have to rearrange a couple of things like right in here, you see. But that's okay. So I'm going to select these two things. I will move with the move command so that I can move them as a unit and pull them off that line a little bit. That's okay there. This I'm going to spread apart a little bit here. I'm going to select that one individually and move it out to here. Oops. Actually, I'm going to move this to nearest and I'll pick a point on the line. I'm going to move this to nearest and pick a point on the boundary line itself. And then with both of those selected, I will use the move command. And I'm going to, now notice I'm going to, when it asks me for from point, I don't have to grab a point down here. I can grab up here where it's empty paper and just click a point, and that keeps me from snapping to something accidentally.
yeah.
So if I go like that, now that's clear. These two are good, but we're going to have to fix this one. And we probably,
We could stack it.
yeah, we could. You know, we could do it like so. The only problem I have with that, the way we're showing, is that the distance gets sort of covered up by this hatch. So let me see about. It's a little too light. We may just get rid of it. It just muddies things up, in my opinion. Or now what I'm doing here is I selected the hatch. And notice it shows up with grips, and it shows them like their little polyline grips, which is really what it is. I'm just identifying the boundary. So then I'm going to these grips and I'm saying, I'm hovering the mouse and I'm saying insert a vertex. So when I do that, I'm putting these little points in my hatch. Now I'm going to move that one a little bit. So to keep it there. And now I'm going to insert another vertex up here. And another vertex out here. And now I'm just going to sort of drag these around a little bit to give me some clearance. Let's see. I need to, need to say none. Snapped to something. And then I'll take this one, also say none. So we could do that. That should be fairly clear, do we think?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really, and I'm sorry I'm that way. I'm just really anal retentive on things not being clear. I think it's our job as cartographers to convey the information more clearly than it otherwise is. So, okay. What else did we're talking about this easement here, how to show that. So that's a reserve. Now, was that reserve? The original grantors was this H&G Catro?
No,
Or
no,
Blue
that Blue Diamond is the current owner
Okay.
of, no, Blue Diamond is actually the current owner of this. I haven't changed this yet. I need to fill this out.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. So, all right. So your lot is called lot 2. I'm going to call this over here is lot 1. So lot 1.
No, lot one is this one.
Oh, all right.
This one technically isn't part of the subdivision. It has no number.
Where did lot 2 come out of? Was the original property?
It came out of this. This was one parcel. The original subdivision divided this parcel from this parcel back here. And then they came along and they did this subdivision. And well, actually, when they did this subdivision, that's when this 13 feet was created.
All right. So and maybe all I'm trying to do is get get an understanding of that 13 feet. The 13 feet was taken from the original parent tract, right? That went all the way to the street and came all the way back.
Yes.
Or did they subdivide the first little subdivision? They got that end rectangular property and then take the 13 feet off of it.
No, it was the first one.
Okay, so yes, the interest is to both owners then, all right?
Yes.
Now, what does the deed call that? How does it define that? It's not an easement, obviously, it's a reserve, but it states it unequivocally as a reserve to the interests of the owners or to the railroad.
No, it's not. It's for the benefit of the owners, not for the railroad. Can you see that deed?
Yes,
Okay, this is the deed, and actually, let me write that down because that's the current owner. I need to get that on. Current owner of the subject lot is Chuck City LLC.
all right.
Chuck City LLC, and that's deed book. Deed book 1272, page 644. Okay.
All right, so. Right to use the easement for private railroad siding. Yeah, see there. To connect with and use the passive. All right, so also together with whatever rights the owners of said property may have to connect with and use the passing siding of said railroad. And together with the right to use Bell Place. Now there they've got two L's.
Well, this deed is currently written by a lawyer.
Yeah.
What I suspect is that they're thinking of it as a bell, as the
Like a ringing bell, yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually with someone's name spelled B-E-L.
Right, which is Italian for beautiful or something like that. I don't know.
Could be, yeah, I don't know.
All right, so
that's where it talks about the easement along the.
yeah,
Oh, and I've got to dimension that too. I don't have to put bearings and distances on it, but I've got to put it as a 10
oh,
foot.
okay, I got it. So that all right, so to right to use Bell and together with the right to use Bell Place, together with an easement right of way 10 feet in width across the western portion of Route 1. Now that's one we put the shading in.
Yes, right.
Ingress and egress and transportation, the person probably into and out of. All right, so that's basically a loading zone. Now go back up and let me read what it says about the railroad siding. All right, so right there. Together with the right to use the easement for, oh, wait a minute, so above it. A certain lot or parcel was stored and warehouse building there from fronting 37.5 feet on the west side of North Mildred Street. Okay, got that between B&O and lot number 1. Okay, actually, part of the deed to people's, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then together with the right to use the easement, has it mentioned the easement before? It's doing it here. The right to use the easement for private railroad siding south of said lot in common with the owners of the lot adjoining the lot herein conveyed on the west, according to the provisions in a deed from Frank Beckwith. Now there's the deed.
Well, let me show you what that original plat looks like.
Okay. It's that Beckwith deed that had the provisions for that written out, but if your plat shows it, I just want to figure out how to label it. Yeah, see, where are we now? All right, so there's Bell Place.
This is
and Mildred. Okay,
property before
there's our property before parcel 1 was cut out of it, and
this is when Bell Place was created.
Yeah, okay.
So you can see it's labeled Bell Place.
One
kind of almost as one word.
That's true. All right, so now you see we've got passing siding, which looks continuous all the way down, and then you've got this 13-foot private siding. So that's in addition.
Well, the passing siding is for the benefit of the railroad, and it actually starts in here somewhere. It's so a train, this is a single line railroad, and it's so a train can pull off the side to let someone else coming in the other direction go by.
Right,
You know,
right.
I don't know how they give those signals and stuff, and it's not a really heavily used track anymore either.
Yeah.
Um, but this is still there. It just doesn't start till about in here somewhere.
But see there, this plat's indicating that passing siding goes all the way down across both properties.
It does.
And then there's this private siding. See, where's that private siding from?
It was created with this plat. That's the 13 feet they're talking about. That's
Okay.
the private siding that's being shared by the subject lot plus the lot in the back. That's
I don't understand how this, I mean, that plat doesn't indicate to me that it's shared with the folks in the back.
well, the
The
writing
private-
in the deed does.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because that's his private siding. Our deed that we were just looking at is talking about the passing siding,
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
doesn't it?
Look at the deed again.
Okay.
And find it.
Oh, there it is at the bottom for private siding that, yeah, okay. Yeah, gotcha. All right, so together with the right to use the easement siding, income, okay, all right, so that's clear. The plat wasn't clear, but the deed makes it clear. But see, that's what I'd like in a perfect world for all the plats to be all that we need, but anyway. All right, so
That'll never happen as long as lawyers rule the world.
that's true. That's very true.
And
All
I don't
right.
see that changing in the near future, considering that they make the laws.
True enough. Now, that being said, can you go back to the original plat?
This is your,
No, I'm sorry, to the plat that we were looking at, the old plat. Yeah. Now, you see that dimension there, 74 feet, that's where your 13 feet comes off of and leaves you.
yeah,
Okay, so that's 61 feet, and then this, so that's labeled as 61. Now down here on the frontage is labeled as 66. So is that 79?
these lines aren't parallel.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, they're not. The easement lines are parallel, so to each other, but not to the other line. All right. All right, so this is creating this parcel, and that parcel by description is 61 feet or 74 feet. I'm trying
Well,
to
this
get it.
parcel back here is
That's the
74 feet.
74,
This-
right?
Let me show you this other plat.
I'm trying to get at that 13-foot private siding is not just an exception to your lot 2. It's adjacent to lot 2. It's
Yeah,
not, overlapping lot 2. All right, so,
and the interesting thing is that what first brought this to my attention is that when I looked up the plat of the adjacent property, this line in common was deeded 74 feet. And I thought, how did that happen? What's going on there?
yeah,
And this should be labeled as the private siding. It's not, it's just labeled as the siding, but this is where lot 2 is created.
Yeah.
And this calls it Bell Place. Now here,
Right.
it's actually 2 words with both the B and the P capitalized.
Yes.
Well,
So,
actually, all of the letters are capitalized, looks like.
yeah, but they stick up bigger. Yeah. Yeah, see this one, this would indicate, see, it's that difference, but, and here's where I have the ambiguity, the 74 feet versus the 61 feet. So that's obvious that 13 feet comes off of the original 74, but that would indicate that the siding really only has pertinence to this lot number 2, but People's Supply still has an interest in it. You would think that that would also come against the 74, or if it's doing that, then
Well,
this,
no, it just comes to the 7, it comes to this line and stops. It's for the benefit, and it says in their deed that they also have the right to use it.
right, that's what I'm saying.
But it doesn't go through.
Right, but if you were to draw the plat for People's Supply, you would draw a line 74 feet.
Yes.
And for lot 2, we're only drawing 61 feet. So 61 feet. Oh, well, no, okay. I just resolved it in my own head. Yeah. So,
Yeah, lot 2 does not include, this is the 13 feet, this is the 71. And this actually turns out to be 61.25 because the math doesn't work otherwise.
yeah, right. Yeah. Whatever that gets resolved to. So,
And then there's this 13 feet left in here.
all right. So, but that 13 feet, there's no ownership interest to the owners of lot 2.
Well, that remains to be seen. They have engaged an attorney as of yesterday to research and determine who owns that 13 feet.
Okay.
And they're going to try to acquire it. What I suspect is, my initial theory is that this 13 feet never got conveyed to anybody, and it's still hanging out there as an unknown and untaxed parcel. The only person that it could have been conveyed to is the railroad, and the railroad map doesn't show it. The railroad map shows its right of way like this.
Well, yeah, but, oh, and by the way, that's something we need to take a look at here. Is, I just noticed. Does that supposed to stick out there?
No, I just didn't, I wasn't that focused on this 13 feet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fix that.
Okay.
Actually, I can go ahead and do it now.
Yep.
Oops. Oops.
It's all right. Just drag a, there you go. Just drag. You need it. Yeah. No, now click it again.
Daggone it.
Just drag up and see what's happening is you're missing the center of that line. All right. Now zoom in a little tighter. There you go. All right. Now. All right. So, but it was called.
Let's see, make sure that this, I think that connects to that line.
Yeah. It looks like it's doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so that was called that private siding, and it's referred to in the deed as an easement. Now, the original People's Supply or whatever that was, that created the first out parcel, that out parcel was always only this 60 some feet. And not the 70 some feet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, so then, so doesn't this then belong entirely to Peoples back in the back?
Say that again.
So doesn't this 13 feet, because the only thing that was taken for this 13 feet was it was an easement that was reserved, but doesn't it still invest its ownership in the original grantor into Peoples?
No, because this is shown as a solid line on the plat. This line on this lot is dimensioned at 71 feet from there to there. But in any case, it's not up to me to figure out the ownership. It's up to me to figure out where the boundaries are.
Right.
It's up to the lawyer to figure out who owns it.
All right, so we just need to figure out how to indicate it.
Well, I think a good way to do it would be to just put a label in here that says 13-foot private siding is shown on plat in deed book, blah, 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 page, blah, blah.
Well, I think you're right. I would agree with that. And now do we need this? See, what I don't want to do necessarily is to draw this line, this portion from here up, we could change to be like this dash line of this easement, but that's not really what it is. It's full, it's full right of way. So
yeah, it's actually a boundary between this 13 feet and the railroad.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe we could just put this same gray shading back here to indicate that 13 foot, or we could just simply put the label that says 13 feet, but you know, we got so many lines in there, I want to make sure it's clear. Maybe we draw the dimension. Well, let's take a look at, let's see about this same kind of hatching back here, and we'll also label it.
Hey, what is the font type on the bearings and distances?
Looks it, oh, that's the it's what you would call Leroy in the old days. If you look at that text, it has a style called simplex.
Yeah, can I change it to Arial? That's what I've been using on my flats.
Absolutely, you may.
So
And
then I go up and hit the paint, click
well,
that, hit the paintbrush.
Yeah, but first of all, here's what we have. That's on a style called simplex. Now, a style is composed. That's something that you create, and it is created, you know, either under draw, text, set style. That's one place where you can put it. It's also available under that little layers box. But this is where, now I'm going to pull this down and find this style called simplex. And I'm not saying that you created it yourself necessarily. It could have started, see, here's this one called simplex. And somebody at some point had a style called simplex, and it is created, styles are created by the user.
Yeah.
And they contain a font.
I think that you created that the very first class I took when you were showing us how to set that up. I think you set that up.
Right. So styles that you create and name contain fonts that you don't control. Those are only fonts that are available on your computer. Okay. So if you want to use Arial.
Well, I've got it set up. That's what the standard is.
Right. And that's one here. If we see this standard, see that uses Arial. So we need to simply change the style from simplex to standard.
Okay.
So go ahead and select one of those pieces of text. Now right click, first of all.
Paintbrush. Right
No,
click?
you could do it with the paintbrush, but it's easier to get, just right click and choose select similar, which is third up or second from the bottom. Okay. So now that's all of those. And now where that style says, just pull that down and change it to standard. There you go.
Much better.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That gives it emphasis without making this need to make it bigger, taller.
Right.
Okay, now let's do this. Let's take a look at how, I'm concerned about, I want to make it clear without any, well, I don't know. I guess maybe if we just labeled that, that would be sufficient.
Well, I think we need to change some line types. I think we need to show this as a boundary line, this is a boundary line, and this is a boundary line. What do you think? And I think I can probably freeze this thing. Can I just click it and freeze it?
What, the building, or that little square?
Little slab.
You could,
I don't know that it'll be in the way though. Well, I guess why
Yeah.
don't we change the line types and then put that label in there and see what it looks like.
yeah, I think maybe so. So if we change, let's see, we've got out here on the street, you've got, you're showing your boundary, and yet it's still on top of, we still got, oh, that's the building line itself. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. But we've stopped the right of way here so that our property line can come in. And then we started the right of way again. We started it back up over there. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the right of way line.
Well, it's also a property line in a way because Mildred
Yeah.
Street isn't just an easement,
Oh.
it's owned by the city.
Right, I understand that. Same thing is up here on Bell Place.
Yeah,
Lot 2 shows its property line, and yet this right of way line back here still is a property line, just same as up here on Lot 1 has property lines out there in the corner as well.
yeah.
But I don't, we didn't want to show them as property line style because that's not our property.
Right.
So I wonder if, see, if we changed this and this, now we'd have to bring this up and stop it here, or we would see if we did something like that, if we did this. And did you say we would also do that one?
And that little tiny one. Yeah.
That I did that one already, but you can't see the pattern because it's too small.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then
Yeah, I think that's good, Mike. I think that clears, we're showing that as these are all boundaries as well, but these are incidental to what we're trying to talk about. And when we call this our 13-foot private easement or private siding, whatever you want to call it, as per your deed, then this makes clear what that 13 feet is talking about. I think that's probably good. Now, what I would do here is, instead of necessarily that continuing like that, I would just bring this up to here. And then I would copy that from there to there. And then I would extend this by distance. And I would just give it a point out there. And then I would set that one back to matching this. Now that was an elaborate way of breaking that line right at that point. That would have been quicker, sorry. But so I think like that now, I didn't want this to say, well, if we do it here, why don't we do it over here kind of thing.
Right.
And then this also keeps us from, I didn't want to necessarily, we could have simply shaded this, but without changing the lines, it's, and here's what it would.
Well, let's put the label in there and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I think that'll give us a better idea of what we need to do. So question is, what size text?
Yeah, we would, well, I would probably match your dimensions, your bearings and distances as for style.
Yeah.
But let me see a second. Do we have a text that says, yeah, there's this text on line or polyline. And that will help us get it to that exact bearing. So there you go. I'll let you type what are we going to call it? 13-foot private siding or whatever it's called. Private, I forget what the terminology. There we go.
Let me get that deed book. I don't remember what it is. It's deed book 10534. No, let me see.
It's not that 210, is it?
No, that's the one that shows the lot 1 and lot 2.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure that's the one it is. Yeah. So that's 105,346.
And now choose down there above, below, or online. So let's just make it below line, or no, let's make it above line, and we'll pick the bottom line, and then we'll move it after we choose it. Here's so the only reason I'm doing it this way is to so that it sets the angle to be the same as that bottom line.
Okay. Now, drawing units 2.4. That's what we want.
Yeah, look at your left, to the left of that, there's your text plot size. That's the plotted inches. So 0.08.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so okay.
Uh-huh. And then it's going to ask you to pick that polyline. So we'll pick that. All right, so that's.
Wow, look what it did there.
Oh yeah, okay.
Can I move it?
Yeah, well. No, go ahead and hit enter to end it. I see what's going on here, because if we look at this, I bet that's a block. Yep, it's a block. All right, so the reason it did that is because the command hang on a second. I want to keep from, I don't want to lose all this. So if I explode this, those are all individual letters. Yes. All right. Yeah. All right, we're just gonna have to grab it all over again. All right, if I undo that. Now, so you can move that, but it still, yeah.
Why did it turn that upside down?
Well, it wrapped the corner and I don't know. Let me see. All right, how many? Oh, it got to the end and turned around and came back. That's what it was doing.
Okay.
So it's because of the length of it. So I think the easier way to do this is to simply, yeah, so we're gonna have to retype it. So no big deal. But let's just, shoot, sorry, undo that. Only select the block, delete that. Now, so let's just take this. It's a simple piece of text and we'll copy it. It's already at the right size and angle. And so we'll just put it here. All right, so let's move it. And let me turn my snaps off. So we'll just put it starting there, and then we'll double click it. And we will say 13-foot private, what did we call it?
Siding.
Siding as shown on plat deed book.
I think it was 105,264, but let me look at it real quick.
All right,
105,346.
okay. So 15 page.
Just use a P.
Oh, 346, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So enter, and now we reposition it. Not nearest, I meant to say none. Let's try one more time here. All right, so, scooch that around however you think makes it clear. I think that's,
Okay, do we need to put leaders in there so that it's clear what we're dimensioning, or shaded?
well, that's what I was getting to earlier, says I don't think simply changing the line styles is going to do it. So I think
we should need to move it more in the middle of the parcel. Maybe.
Okay, let's try that as one thing to do. And yeah.
Oops.
Okay. Now, how does that? Do you think that's clear enough? Or let's, I also, even though I like to make things clear, I also don't like to gild the lily too much. But let's take a look at what this would look like shaded.
Let me ask you a question real quick while I'm thinking about it.
Sure.
Can I change the text of this 1 foot offsite from whatever it is to be Arial 2?
You certainly may. And if you select it, now here's where you do it. If you look at the properties, you don't see it, but remember that's a point description, right? That's a point. So over on that, where you've got it selected in the properties, it shows you that that's made up of 3 things. There's 2 blocks and there's a point. So if you click in any one of those block reference lines, if you click in that one, you see where it shows. And now click in the one underneath it and you'll see the symbol. Okay. So that's, if you scroll that down, you'll see the name of the point symbol, SPT4W. Now go and get the block reference above that one. That's now the text. If you grab that, now scroll that down and see if it lets you set the style. Keep going down. No, all right. So it's an attribute. Righty, so let's approach this a different way. We're going to need to so we can't set it through the properties. If we right click, I want to select it, and I want to edit in place. Thing is, this might change every instance of every point. All right. See, it's just a block. I want to redefine the attribute, but that redefines all the blocks in the drawing. So if let's see.
I thought maybe there was some universal way to set all of the point descriptions so that they.
Well, yeah, there is, but what you have to do is you could like see this block is what's it called? That it's a block called serve point. Oh, it doesn't show up there. Anyway, it's a block called SRVPNT01 or something like that. Let's see if this one is. Why is it not? Yeah, but you have to go. Yeah, what you have to do is you redefine that block. See, that block is defined when you set your points, when you do a draw locate point, that's part of this business up here. If we use descriptions. I know we can do it in field to finish, but I wonder if it's once it's, yeah, see, I can't really do it here. You can do it in field to finish when you draw points. You can choose to take those and create text entities out of them. But I'll show you what we'll do here in just a second as the expedient solution. I just want to make sure there's nothing down here. If I edit those attributes, resize, twist, overlaps. Let me see if I edit this point attribute. Yeah, that's all it's doing with that. Okay. All right. So here's
how about the command there that said edit points?
Well, that's like this one.
No, well, I guess point utilities wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, no, it's really
description points.
Yeah, so you could, what was that?
There's a thing down at about 6 up from the bottom, description for points.
Oh, no, that's actually asking you what you want to make, what text you want it to be, not what style. Okay. So, yeah, there's a couple of things to do. Is you could, excuse me. I'm reluctant to blow that up. I still want to treat it as a point. Let's see. I copied legal entity type. All right. If I explode my attribute, now I can do it. I'll repeat that, put this one. And all right, so now what I did if I simply said explode to that, it would have exploded and you would not see this word anymore. You would see PNT DESC for point description. So when it does it this way, it now just brings it out as text. And so now you've got these two pieces of text.
Then go down and change the style.
Select, and now instead of style PTXT, you would set that to be style standard. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you might, because it shrunk up a little bit, you might just drag them over a little closer. There we go. And I would also put these guys back on top, because when we blew the point up, it blew that symbol up. Now I would say draw order front. Now, keep in mind though, when we did that, when we exploded that to text, that's no longer a point. If I double click that, it's text. If I double click up here, see, it's just it's a block. All right.
Okay.
So, and if you want that back as a point, now those have point numbers, and of course I don't recall what they were, but you could redraw, locate those point numbers to get those back.
Yeah. Are they still points on the model, or is it the same thing?
No, they're not. They're not in the drawing anymore. They're still part of the CRD file, however.
Right. Okay.
So, I'm here. You know what? Let me fix that back, Mike. I don't want to. Make sure this is. I want to keep your points as a point. There we go. So that's 0.216. And it's 215. All right, so 215 and 216. So now we'll go back and do it again under express tool. We can do it either here under block explode attributes, or Carlson has it as well under explode, block explode, and add number to no, select this guy and this guy. Okay, so now, so it brought about all of the attributes, which included these point numbers, which I'm just going to select and delete. And I'll select those and change them from PTXT to standard. Oh, heck, Mike, instead of doing all this and making all this stuff such a mess, I'm going to show you one more. All right, this is still a point. Yes. Remember that style PTXT?
Yeah.
That's hard coded into the programming. That's why, you know, sometimes I've showed you how to set your PTXT, instead of that ugly looking text, you can change it to a different style, and we store that in our drawing template. So
Yeah.
if we simply redefine that style, we'll go to draw text, set style, or as an alternate, we choose this little layer button and go over on the left and choose text styles. And we see this PTXT, and there's that font.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now, if we simply change the definition of the style, oh, sorry, I'm looking for the font, which is Arial. Okay, so now we've redefined that style, and there it is.
Okay, show me that one more time where you did that.
Okay, let's undo. I'm going to undo and talk you through it and let you drive it. Well, come on. Oh, surely. I didn't want to undo too much.
Yeah, I think the text for the
Yeah, that's why I want to put this. I was noticing that it didn't. Yeah.
but it undid the text for the siding.
Yeah. All right. Let me see here. That's still separate. All right. Let's say copy. I'm going to put that right in there. And I'm going to change its justified to center. That's fine. Middle center. And we said 13-foot private siding as shown on plat DB
105,
XX.
105.
And that was, yeah, so 346, I think I remembered.
Yeah.
5. All right. Now, I'm going to set this back by definition so you can, and then I'm going to put it back the way it was so you can then, see what I did to fix it. Let's see, it was that. All right, so there it is. Now, there is a text. Well, first of all, save. Now, there is a text style called PTXT, which stands for point text. And that's something that is usually not predefined in your drawing template. And usually, and the first time you ever do a draw locate points is when the program will create that text style and assign it to those attributes of those points. And that's why you'll see plats from people that don't ever change that.
And they've got that ugly looking text as far as those point attributes go. So we had predefined our style called PTXT because we noticed that behavior, and we changed it to be like this Leroy looking, text, like that 1 foot offset. And it's not called Leroy, it's called IC dash Roman S, Roman simplex is what that stands for. And it has to start with an IC dash because Autodesk sued whoever originally made the first clone of AutoCAD, like IntelliCAD. And they asserted that they owned the names of those text files as a copyrightable thing. So they wanted to try to, try to make them, to throw up some more obstacles to people from buying regular AutoCAD is what they were trying to do. In any case, so when we put these in as points and then moved the attributes around with a leader, it used that PTXT as the style because that's what draw locate points tells it to use. So instead of taking the points and blowing them up and pulling out the text and changing the text style, which was what I was starting down that path, and then that has the double negative effect of taking the point out of the drawing. So to keep this as a point, it's going to be simpler to just redefine the style of the text of any of the point attributes. So that's what we did. And there's two ways to get to that point. And that is first on the draw menu under the text pull right, which is huge in terms of all the choices you've got. So you draw text. There is a set style, which is the next to the last in the first block. And that brings up the, yeah, go ahead and run it and I'll show you what it looks like. See, that brings up this dialogue and you would choose, now, first of all, I would set this back to, I'll make that the current style. Now let's repeat that. All right, so what you would do when you run that, you would then pull down that current style name where it says standard, and you would find PTXT or anyone that you were interested in changing. And then over on the right-hand side where it says text font and it says Arial, like go ahead and pull down from standard, change that to PTXT. There you go. Now look over there where it says IC-Roman S. You want to pull that down and choose Arial, and then you would say okay or whatever. Okay. Now that's one place you can do it, and that's fine. And that's the way regular AutoCAD looks. That's where you do it in regular AutoCAD, is it has a dialog box like that. If we cancel that, the way I did it the last time was go up there and you know where you set your layers? Where you, like if you want to make a new layer, yeah, that box right there. You click that, even though it says layer control, and that's what it comes up with first, is showing you the layers. But what this is a program called Explorer. You see in the upper part of the title block?
Yeah.
Explorer, that's your IntelliCAD Explorer, and right now it's looking at layers. And you can look at any of those things: layer states, line types, text styles, coordinate systems, etc., etc., etc. So you would choose text styles, and now there they are, all laid out in a little spreadsheet, and you would find that PTXT. Okay, go ahead and now over there under the column where it says font name, if you click in that, you can then pull that down and choose Arial. There it is. Okay. And then just close the window. And if by some reason it were not to change, then you would just simply do a regen and have it change.
Okay.
Now we got a little bit different font metrics going on in here, so I would
Let me go ahead and freeze that thing while I'm thinking of it.
okay.
Um,
Well, leave it on there for just a minute, Mike, because I'm gonna take a look. I want to, whoops, oh crap. I want to take a look at something with that too, for you to consider. I'm gonna move these just a little bit closer. Oops. Guess I have to do it. What? Uh-oh, let's see here. Let me undo the move. There we go. Now. Okay, select this, and all I want to do is move that. That's what I want to do. Turn snapping off. And then same thing there. Turn my snapping off. There, now we didn't move the points. Okay, now leaving that on for a moment. Here's one thing that we can do to help clarify some of this stuff. Now, you still may want to freeze it off, and otherwise you're going to need to identify it as a concrete slab or whatever. So you may just want to take it off in general. But if for some reason you did want to leave it, you could do this. We're going to isolate these things. We're going to put some back shading back here behind this thing to try to clarify a little bit. So, but remember all that stuff we did up here with the text being in the way and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk you through what we're going to do here. We're going to run that command that says isolate by selection. And we're going to turn, or then once we run that command, we're going to then select the lines that we want to keep on so that we can hatch around them with that real light shading. So either on the view menu, or if you've got your toolbars out, those little icons that look like the dark globe and the let's see, they're these up here at the up these up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to let you drive here now. I'm sorry, my mouse. All right, now you should be clear. Okay, there's something going on with my mouse that it doesn't. Well, it doesn't release right. All right, let me see here. I'll go ahead and choose it for you here. Isolate by section. Now I'm going to let you pick it. See, it's asking you to select the entities to isolate. So you want to pick at least that, that line. So pick all of the line work that we want to use and get the ones out by Mildred Street. And then we're going to also need to get that little concrete pad if we're going to use it. Okay, because otherwise it will go under. Well, no, let's not isolate that. Let's leave it as it is. I was going to say we could leave it and it would knock out a white square where the pad is, but maybe we don't want to do that anyway because the easement exists even where the pad is. So that's good, I think, and we'll just hit enter to finish our selection. Now we're going to draw that hatch. So it's either Yeah, draw hatch, standard hatch is fine. And everything's fine there. Now, here's the nice thing about hatches is that once you draw one, even if we were to draw it and it came up with, you know, diagonal lines, you can match properties to an existing one and it will change it for you to match one. So sometimes I do that and I just, you know, I'll whip something up together and then instead of worrying about what it's going to look like, I just do that to make sure where it is. And then I will match an existing one later on. So this part of the process. So now, a couple things we want to do is we want to look down there in the middle section where it says draw order, and we're going to make sure it's set to send to back, which it is. You don't always want that, but that's what you usually will want to do. And there's a couple of other options that you could do. There's this annotative and associative and all that kind of stuff. And if you were to say annotative, now it would have no effect on our solid hatch, but like the diagonal stripes in the edges of the building that we use, that's also a hatch. If we set that to annotative, then it would react to changes in drawing scale for us. If we set associative, which is what we typically do, then it associates it with this line work. And if you go and the lines move, it's going to stretch that boundary of the hatch with it. And sometimes that draws those boundaries and you got to freeze them off. So right now I would leave it unassociative by leaving it unchecked. But those are just some of the things that you can do with it. All right. So now the biggest thing is though, is to indicate where you want the hatch to go. Now that you've isolated the boundaries and they're shown, it's easiest to simply pick internal points. And that's that, again, up at the top, that middle section, and we click that. Okay, it's going to go away and it's going to prompt you now to specify an internal point. So you're going to click right there. All right. Now notice it keeps asking you to specify an internal point. So you could do multiple picks. You could have, you know, say a mechanical part where you're shading in, you know, 6 regions out of 30 some regions that are shown on your screen. That's what that's for. So once you're done inserting or showing the internal points, which you are, hit enter. And that's ready to go. And you would say, okay. And now you need to unisolate your drawings, which is that icon to the right of that where it says show all. Now that doesn't mean other layers that are frozen. It leaves those still frozen. It only turns on what you had not isolated. So now there's that there's how that would look, and it looks a little bit grayer than it probably will look once we get to the PDF. We'll take a look here at the end. All right, so now that little slab is maybe or maybe not going to be in the way now that we've indicated what's shown here, but it, you know, you'll have to decide, is that something that's important to show? It may not be.
I just want to freeze it.
Okay, so first of all, select it and make sure it's not on a, it's on a layer called improvements. So I don't know that I would freeze that layer, right? I would maybe put that thing, I would change its layer to a layer that's frozen. And we have that points freeze. You could make another layer, you know, that, excuse me, that you could have another layer just called, you know, frozen items or whatever you want to do it.
We did that the other day. I just have to remember what we called it.
Well, we used points freeze. I think we just kept it, didn't we? As
Didn't
points.
we? I thought we created something else, but you might be right.
No, I think we just, it was there, it was convenient, so we used it. All right, so now if you press escape and clear the selection, the grips will go away. There you go. Now you don't have to worry about labeling it or put it in the legend or anything. All right. So now,
I needed to mention this 10 feet here before I forget.
oh yeah, yeah.
So that would be edit. Offset.
What?
My mouse is acting
No,
funny.
no, but you're thinking right. It's not an edit offset. That offsets lines. You're going to draw the offsets, right? You're going to draw the offset dimensions. But
Yeah.
in terms of Carlson commands to do that, see, AutoCAD knows nothing about it being an offset dimension. Carlson does though, and that's on the annotate menu. That's where Carlson annotates things or
Survey
labels.
text,
There you go.
offset dimensions.
Yep. And so now it wants those corners. Now I would, instead of using the actual corner, I would maybe go up and grab a near snap and come down and grab like in the middle point of that second dash. All right, so the near would be, there you go. And go on the right-hand edge and come down. Yeah, that's probably fine. Or maybe, yeah, okay. And now pick the line to offset from. So now anywhere on that line. And there you go. And I think that looks fine. Wow, look at that. How does that work?
Yeah, that looks good.
I mean, how did we manage to have something actually work? That's all right. And don't forget to change your blue diamond reference. You've got it just copied in. It's a placeholder. So that's something you can do at some point.
My what?
The blue diamond, yeah, back there for page 72 or whatever it is, P72, the 1261 P602. You've got twice, is that correct?
Yeah, I copied it from, it's not correct. That
that
belongs here, but I just copied it. So I already had the district and map number.
Yeah.
I just have to go in and change the parcel number and the
Right.
name.
That, and yeah, and that's all I was doing was just reminding you
Yeah.
not to forget to do that. Okay.
Right.
And same thing with K-Trail contracting. If that,
Right.
yeah. So just
Let's look at the title block for a second while it's still got you here.
okay.
I wanted to add.
Look at your look at down here. Damn it, this thing keeps blowing up. Man, I don't know why. Oops. There is some command that we run, and we're not watching this, and it's changing that, and I don't know why it's doing it.
Well, I'm used to it. It does it all the time, and I just go back and do the insert command and redo it.
Yeah, oh, I know, but it's a pain in the tuchus. Yeah, go back and find me where that is in CAD resources. So we say insert. Yes, we'll redefine it. And now you should be able to just press escape. Oh, damn it. We went through that yesterday. All right. Yes, redefine it. And I guess we have to do it here to let it redefine, then select it and then delete it. Regular AutoCAD, once you say yes, redefine it and press escape, it leaves the redefinition in place. I guess that's one difference there. All right. All right, now back to this.
Okay, this is obviously not the owner anymore.
Right.
They're called Chuck City LLC.
Mhm.
Uh, Now, do I hit enter to get out of that or escape? Enter?
Yeah, either one.
Okay.
Now it's asking you to pick another annotation object, and if you're done, you can just either escape or enter, or you can just pick another one. Now, this is doing this line by line because these are individual lines of text. They're not, it's not in text. They're not multi-line text like
Right.
address would be.
Right.
So, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you wanted it as a single block of text, you could do that, but this gives you control over each line. You know, it's entirely.
Okay. Let me find out what the map and parcel number is of
All right.
subject piece real quick.
And when you come back, Mike, don't forget to let's save it.
Yeah, good point.
And by the way, this looks like it's a state level resource. Is that correct?
A what?
This Jefferson County, West Virginia tax map viewer, is that just at the county or is that at the state level?
Yeah, no, it's just at the county.
Okay. Well, I was going to commend whoever has put this together. It looks really nice, and it gives you some go-to places without having to drive down to the courthouse. And
Yeah, no, she has done a very nice job of it. Her name is Tori. She's the one who keeps telling me my scale's wrong,
yeah,
but I won't hold that against her.
true enough. All right, so there you are at the bottom of the screen.
She's a
70.
very smart and very skilled CAD person.
Well, that's
Okay.
good. Have the county keep her happy.
3 map 2 parcel 73. Okay. I think I've got everything I need from there. Let me go ahead and save that now before we do anything more.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is map 2. Parcel. $72. Okay, now I like to put another line under that and give the deed book and page number.
Okay. Is there anything above Chuck City between it and survey plat?
No, I just need to move that down.
Okay. All right. So first of all, you're still in the edit command. Notice your cursor is not back. So hit enter to finish. And we're going to select those 2 lines, Chuck City and map 2.
Oh,
And now we're going to move them with the move command. We're not going to do it with the grips because that will not do them together. So we'll move them and just, yeah, but now if you want to, if they are lined up with something and you want to keep it perpendicular, just hold the shift key down and that locks it to vertical or horizontal temporarily.
okay.
So, there you go. And click whenever you're happy with it. Whoops. What did it? Let's
Didn't it?
Oh, yeah, undo.
No, well, wait a minute, before you do that, I want to see if there is. See, there's not in regular AutoCAD, or at least unless they've added it in the last version. They don't have a way to line up text, but I wonder if Carlson thought that would be helpful. Let's see here. Now this is the justification. It's not the same thing. Aligned is not what we're after here. I was just trying to see if it let us. See if that was here too. Oh, wait just a minute here. Hold that thought a minute. I want to go back and check something because that's a point. It's an attribute. I wonder if that was. If I edit that, let's see. So that's the attribute, and where it says 1 foot under here, if I choose, I was hoping if I chose that little dot, I might be able to change its style. All right, so that didn't let you do that. All right, so that was just a stray thought. Sorry. Erase that from your memory banks. So I was looking for something that would let me line this up, the center of these to the center of that. And it's not on the draw text. Nothing there, and there's nothing under edit align. That's where you move. That's like a translate rotate. So the way I've always done this with standard AutoCAD before is I'm going to set all of these, and I see they have a justification of middle center. That's good. So now what you want to do is see these points here, this middle center point, that is the insertion point. And that's controlled by this right here. So if I were to change that to say middle left, or let's change it instead of middle center, let's choose top center, and you'll see that point move a little bit. See how, and it changed the text to be justified along it there. And so we'll keep it middle center. Now the key is to be able to line up all of these center points along a vertical line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily draw a little polyline here. And I'm going to go from the insertion point, which up here is, what's the insert? Should look like a block. There it is, insertion point of this text right here. And I'm going to hold the shift key down so it locks it. And I'm just going to draw it down here, and keeping the shift key down, I'm going to click the mouse. Okay, so I'm now drawing that temporary line. Now, I'm going to individually move these points, these lines, to where they line up along that line. It looks like that one might be this one, these two are not. They're close. That one's close, but it's not exactly right. So I'm going to just grab this grip, and now wherever I move it, it's going to move to, but where I can move that is perpendicular to that line. See? So I'll let you drive the rest of them. So just grab the grip on the second line now, click the mouse, and now grab that perpendicular snap. And yeah, and you can grab that line anywhere you want to grab it. So now get that bottom line. Yeah, perpendicular, and just point to the line anywhere on the line. You don't have to
You don't have to do it right where the text is. You could do it anywhere and it snaps perpendicular to that thing. All right, so now that's done. They're lined up vertically. We press escape and we select the
delete that.
line and delete it. Yeah.
Well, now if I'm going to put another,
Well, I'll show you that. You don't need your line to do that. You
okay,
could, I mean, but I'll show you. So now you're going to take that one map to parcel 72. And if you want that to be the same spacing as the Chuck City, there's a way to do that. Or, you know, the same spacing as the top two lines are. If you just
Mhm.
want like a third line underneath that, as if it were multi-line text.
well, what I want to do is put the deed book and page number here, and then put the address under that.
Yeah, so,
Actually, put the address just below the city of Charleston,
yeah,
just
so,
above the city of Charlestown.
okay, and then we'll move that. So we're gonna copy that second line down.
This one? Or
Yeah,
this one?
or no, the second line, that one, yeah. I'm sorry, the second of that group of two. So we're gonna copy that. Now, we're gonna copy, if we copy from the insertion point of this first line to the insertion point of the second line, it will be the same spacing. We don't have to eyeball it. So when it asks you to specify the base point, go up here and grab this insertion, which is the one that shows you're right there. Yeah. So we're going to go from the insertion point of, we click that and we choose the first line, not that one, but that one. Yes. So we go from there and now we're going to grab the insertion point again up there at the top to the insertion point of and we pick the map. There you go, right there. Okay, so we click that. So now there's your, and we can just press escape. Okay, so now you can edit that line. There you go. Okay,
And enter.
yep, and then enter one more time. So now, here's something to think about. If those are all the same style and height and all of that, and they're lined up, that would be easier to edit if it were multi-line text. So we could treat it like a paragraph, and if we wanted to add a line, we just hit enter when we're editing it, and it takes care of the spacing. So let's convert these three pieces of individual text into a multi-line text. And there's two ways of doing that. You can do it with your Express tools, but since that's not a Carlson command, let's go up to the draw menu and go to the text. And I think under there, and now if we were to say multi-line text, that means it's going to ask us to pick a point. We're going to type a new one. We don't want to do that. We want to change this to, no, it's not on this menu, damn it. I think they used to have it here. I think they've moved it. No, that's for block attributes. All right, go back to instead of the draw menu, let's go back to the edit menu for a minute. And is there a text? There's a text. There we go. That's what I was looking for earlier. Let me see if there's an align under here. Oh man. Remember that temporary line we drew vertically and we moved stuff?
Mhm.
This was the command I was looking for earlier. See, it said line up text down here, fourth from the bottom. That would have let us do it. But all right. So we don't need to use that temporary line thing anymore. We'll use that one next time. But now look at the commands, and this is going to be change. We're going to, it's about right in the middle. It says convert text to M text. Okay. So now when it says you want to group text or process individually, we're going to want to group it, and then we're going to pick them in order. If we said individual, it would take each one of those lines and make each line an in-text object, but they would be separate. So we want to say group, and then we'll pick the Chuck City
And
first.
just draw a,
Yeah, yes, you can cross it, and that should do it, and hit enter. Okay, now what happened there was it changed its style and everything to be, it set it to the current text style, and it's now matching City of Charlestown. So and it also lined it up on the left because it's left justified. So select that one, select any one of the lines and you'll get the whole thing. Now let's go and change its justify. Instead of top left, let's change it to, which you were almost there, down the bottom section where it says justify top left. Pull that down and choose top.
I'm just looking at this on the layer title block PS stamp. Oh, okay, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, and so, yeah, but you could have it on a different layer if you wanted, if that made sense for you. Now, instead of top left, let's make it top center. Now it's going to jump it to the left and we'll line it up again later. All right, so let's see, pull that down again. And instead of top center, let's choose middle center. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so see what it is. See, the whole thing is spread out.
Yeah.
And so we'll line this back up over with this one here in a minute, but it's nice and wide. We don't really need it that wide. Let's bring it back. And then we'll just click like that. So that's now, let me see. I think I still want that to be top center. So that's going to go up there, and now we'll bring, we'll take this corner and bring it down like so, and then we'll bring this guy up. No, I don't need to worry about that. We'll just leave it like that, but we'll line that up here in a minute. Now, let's change its height to be, see, right now it's almost 2/10 of an inch tall. So let's change that down to say 0.15. So it's a little smaller. Let me see, what was this one? That's 0.375 inches. That's probably okay. Let's maybe. A little bit bigger. I think. And then these two, we'll fix this in a minute. All right, so now we want to line this up to match the center of this survey plat. So let's go back to the edit menu and take the text, pull right, which is not third from the top. And we're going to go all the way down toward the bottom and line up text, okay? And so we want to line up text on vertical. All right, so pick the vertical position. So now you want to choose the insertion point of that first line. There you go. And now select the text to process. So you select that, just pick anywhere. Yep, that's it. Hit enter. There it is. Okay. Now let's change, or go ahead and hit enter to finish. and enter one more time. There you go. Now, just roll the wheel in and out a little bit. There you go. That gets rid of that. Now let's change those next two lines down.
Okay, I want to put another line above that. I want to put the address up here.
Okay, so now and do we want to make that as part of that upper block, or do we want to make it as
Part of this.
what size of text do we want? The same as City of Charlestown or the same as Chuck City LLC?
I guess the same as Chuck City LLC.
All right, so let's just double click that so that we get the, there you go. Now click over there to the right. And if you press the down arrow, does it have blank lines below it or no? So just hit enter a couple of times and that will space one and go one more line down if you want. And now you could type the address.
Okay.
Okay. And then we just say, okay, now if for some reason, if that were to be a line, and I'll show you real quick. If we were to say Mill Street, and we had all this other stuff, see how it wraps?
Yeah.
If we get a case like that, while we're doing that, we would just simply make, stretch this out until it didn't wrap anymore.
Okay.
All right, so, but I'm gonna cancel that and say, no, don't save the change. There we go. All right, so now.
Why is Jefferson County, West Virginia, like it's highlighted?
Yes, that's because when we were starting to do this, we set that up to be a field, and that was in, and I'll explain why we did it, but we sort of went away from it. But if we look at our drawing properties, see if I can find where it might be. Drawing properties. That's a field here that we created called, see, there's this sheet title, the project name, district, county, and this project name too, we had in some previous thing, but that's a field called county. Okay, so if we were to change this field now to say, instead of, we had Hanover, for instance, and then said, okay, and then did a regen, you see what it did there?
Mm-hmm.
So what we were doing was, originally we had all this stuff set up as fields so that when we inserted this title block, all we had to do was to change those properties and it would change all of this stuff. All right, so that was the original intent of what we were doing. And we sort of got away from that. You notice the only field that's left now is this county. We had those other ones before. But now, since we're just treating this as text that you're going to edit on each one, because this sort of changes from plat to plat,
right,
as to what you're going to actually be showing. So then all we need to do is to change that from being a field to just being regular text, or we could just leave it because it doesn't plot with that shaded. It's just showing you that it is a field.
right.
So let's see if we can get rid of the field. Now this is just a
Edit text.
well, it's not anything that Carlson would be aware of. That was just taken from CAD, from the CAD command. So this is a field command. And so if we find this, I think it's under, that's not under other. Let's just find it here under maybe document. See, these are fields that are built in.
By the way, when I give this CAD drawing, when I send this CAD drawing to an architect, should I take my seal off of it?
I would, and let me show you what to make sure about that, because I get this all the time from other people. Let's see, I don't, oh, there it is, county. So if I select this county, I wonder, can I delete it? Can't do it there. If I do it here. Yeah, if I delete that, I wonder if it's going to take the whole thing out. Yeah, it's just, no, let's see. It's a field. If I select that, does it let me toggle? I don't see it does.
Can we just delete it and retype it in?
Yeah, that might be the easiest. Let's just do that. We'll just delete it. In fact, let's turn this into a multi-line text. So go back to edit text and convert to multi-line. You're in the middle of selecting, press escape first. There you go. Now back to edit text. And it's right in the middle. One more, there you go. And in this case, go ahead and say group still, even though it is individual. And then just select that one, City of Charlestown, and hit enter. There you go. Now, double click City of Charlestown, go and, oh, wait a minute. It's going to be left justified. All right, so escape that. Select it, and let's change its justification now to top left. We're going to say middle center. It's down at the bottom. Then right, keep going right there. Up, back up. Right, one more. Nope, that's it. Right there. Justify. Yep. So let's put that as top center is fine. Okay. And now we press escape and we'll align it. Again on the edit text. Line up text fourth from the bottom. And we want to go V for vertical, or it's default. We can just hit enter. Okay, enter. And now pick the vertical position you're going to pick. There you go. Right there. That's fine. And now select the entities to process, which is that one. Hit enter. There you go. Perfect. And now double click City of Charlestown and go to the end of the town, hit enter, and put Jefferson County, West Virginia. And okay, and you're done with that part of it. Now, was there anything else we wanted to put with that?
No, I think that's got it.
Okay. And if you want to close up your spacing a little bit there, there's a couple of things you can do. You can move that bottom one up closer to the upper one. So if we're going to move it now, when you click that and start to move it, go ahead and click it at that point, at that grip, and then just move it around on the map, but hold the shift key and that will lock it to the vertical, and keep it held down and just click it when you're ready. There you go. Escape and you're done. All right. And don't forget to change that lower right block where you say the scale. Is that the lower right hand? Very low. Yeah, right in there. Don't forget to change
yeah.
that
Let me
stuff.
do that right now before I forget.
Okay. And then your date and job number and all that, so. Now,
Job
just,
number's right. I haven't.
all right,
Need to pick a better date.
what,
than that.
hit enter, because that's a single line of text. See how it lights up and it doesn't bring that, all that, yeah, and now pick another line. There you go.
Let me look real quick and see when I started this job. See what the date of the proposal is.
Is that the dates that you put on that? Is when you started?
Yeah.
Okay,
I guess I can use it first. Yeah, let me see here. November 5th, 2021.
now, yeah, double click it. You can double click it and it'll select the whole word if you want. But you can do it that way too, November 5th.
What did I say that date was? The 5th?
5th. There you go. Now click off of it. Now you notice, oh, okay, and is the job number correct? I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so you're done editing, so just hit enter to finish.
Wonder if I should change my copyright date to 20.
Yeah, you could.
22.
So just click that and change that to 2022. Okay. Now hit enter to finish. Now, when,
Oh, it went back to where it was.
oh,
I hit escape instead of enter.
I see. Now enter again to finish. Now, here's a question that I have. You don't have, all right, so you put that date over there as the date you started. Of course, you signed this. I just wonder, see, let's say you take a job and it takes 5 years to finish. Is there a, like, when somebody looks at this later and they say on a plat by Shepp Surveying and Mapping PLLC dated November 5th, 2021. Do we need to,
Well, I've actually got some plats out there like that,
all right,
that were subdivisions that took a long time to complete.
yeah,
And traditionally, we haven't used the date of the proposal. We used the date that the first field work was started. And that's
Okay.
just purely arbitrary. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
rule or
All right,
rhyme or reason.
yeah, as long as this works for you, that's good. I typically on mine, but mine tend to be design jobs. They're not survey plats. And so I typically do is my date of first submission to whatever agency. And
Let me
then,
ask,
and then
should
I
this
have,
line be above that signature?
yes, that's exactly right. So select those two lines.
And then
then
hit
we're gonna-
the shift key?
Well, we're going to move first. We use the move command. There you go. And now keep your, well, you can do that. Yeah. All right. So grab that and then hold the shift key down. Okay. That's good. Now we would save that and plat, you know, and plot it and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm going to show you how to handle the seal. So let's say we're going to give this to an architect. I would do either a save as, or you would, you know, but just make a copy of it and say delivered to architect or whatever you want to do. You basically, you want to have a separate drawing because you want to keep the seal in the drawing that you keep. And so if we did say this one's called prints, 21016 prints. So if we did pull down the file menu and chose, yeah, save as, and let's go to,
Call it architect.
yeah, let's click right after the Z. And then just put a -ARCH or whatever you wanted to call it. And we hit save. And now what this does is, and that's the drawing you are now in. You're in this one called Prince Architect. So we're going to go back to the other one to finish things up. But let's say you had everything finished and you were going to send this to the architect. So the first thing to do is to select the seal itself and delete it. But now, if we were to give this to the architect and they open it up, they could, if they were savvy about it, go to this, go to look at our blocks, and you see all of these blocks that are defined, even though you've erased it. And if you look down here, you know, PS stamp is still in it. So I look at that and I want to put it somewhere else. See, it's still defined. So you want to take that definition out of this drawing. And we do that with the purge command, which is on the file menu under drawing utilities. And you would come down to drawing utilities and pull right and choose purge, which is all the way at the bottom. And now, if you look at this dialog, you look at the items that you're allowed to purge. If that stamp is shown in the drawing, you would not see it available, and it is a block. But if I open this up now, I see these are all blocks that at one time have been defined in the drawing.
There are actually two PS stamps there, I noticed.
Yeah, there's the one that we had, well, there's this one. Okay.
The purge.
Well, what I want to point out to you is that one thing you could do is you could just simply say, you could say you would check on this purge any nested item. So if PS stamp had a block inside of it that was also defined as part of that block, that will take care of this nested items. And you could also then just say purge all, and it gets rid of everything that you don't need. Layers, text styles, anything that's defined under these categories, like blocks, dimension styles, groups, layers. So here's some layers that aren't used. Okay, so you could simply say purge all, and it gets rid of everything that that's not showing in the drawing, but it's still defined. Or if you just want to get rid of that one, you could open up this blocks, find PS stamp, and instead of purge all, you would just purge. And then that takes care of that. But see, some companies will have, you know, and this is a good way to get things if you need from another company. You see these line types?
Yeah.
Sometimes they've got all these line types defined. They may not be used in the drawing, but you might find it handy to use that somewhere else. And so you can just sort of put quotes around it and say, borrow that for your own use. And then you can, you know, find those different things. So, you know, that's just one thing to be aware of, that any of these things that are definable, text styles, multi-line text styles, you'll get a lot of those from architects. This M-line styles, we don't have any in ours, but architects, sometimes if they draw a building wall, it's just one line, but it defines the inside, you know, where the drywall is, and it's got the outside where the brick on the outside is, you know, so it's 6 inches or however, whatever that dimension may be. So you may see things like that. So, and we've got some registered applications. These are all these little applications that came from oh, different places. This AdCAD ZZ, that's something that came originally from the old land desktop development. So that is something that's still a part of this drawing from, and it could have been something that Carlson used when they first put out the original drawing template when they were developing this, because they developed their code from a lot of the land desktop behavior. And so there's some things left over here, from way back that may or may not be necessary. So that's what this purge all will clean all that out of there for you. All right, so
Okay.
that's what you want to do, is make sure that they can't, if they tried to insert that, then they would not see it because they don't have your files. They say from file, they can't find that file, but they can't come
Right.
down here and find that PS stamp.
Right.
All right, so that's what you want to make sure that you do, and you would then deliver that to them. I would probably just think about doing just purge and purge all, so they only have what's defined in your drawing, and that's the simplest to keep
Yeah,
track of.
that's what I
Okay?
think I will do.
All right, so we're going to close that. Won't save it at this point, and let's go back to our prints. Okay.
Okay.
You know what I would do here, Mike, is
Let me save it first before we,
Right.
I don't remember
Yep.
how long it's been since we saved it.
well, we just now reopened it, so it had been saved. All right,
Oh.
so now I would probably let's drop that down just a little bit. And if I hold the shift key down and bring it down just a wee bit, and then let's bring these guys down a bit here too. And here's another thing too, if you're going to move this and it asks you to pick a point, you don't have to grab that endpoint, because it just needs a starting point and a finishing point. So if I just click out here in space, so I'm not going to run into accidentally snapping, I'll
Yeah.
just click here in space, and then I'll hold that shift key down. And reposition that. Now, it looks like, yeah, at some point, you see this toggle down here at the bottom of the screen, this where I'm clicking,
Yeah.
it turned that on at some point. So I'm gonna unclick that, and it was inadvertent. We don't want that on, because otherwise it's going to be locked. If it were on, we didn't notice it, we go to try to draw something, it's going to try to draw it orthogonally all the time. So you don't want that to, and other commands are affected too, like move and copy and all that. And that's a way to do it. If you can remember that you turn that on, you toggle that on and off, and also the F8 key, you see that ortho mode F8?
Yeah.
That toggles it on and off. So if you wanted, instead of using the shift key, if you wanted to move this, you could simply say move, and then you could, you just press F8, and then everything is locked, and you can move it around up, down, left, right, and then you would come down here and toggle it back off. See, now it's on. And so now if I move it, even if I move the mouse, over here to the left, it's locked. Or if I'm going this way, even if I'm up or down a little bit, it won't go up or down because I'm further left. Okay.
Right.
So just keep your eye on that little thing. If something happens and it's locked on those axes, double check that to make sure that's the way you want it to be. Okay.
Okay.
Now, next item.
Well, let me do a quick fix here on this adjoiner. I don't have this adjoiner right. K-stroke and. Oops.
Yeah. Now, is that in paper space, I think, or is it in model space?
Paper space, I guess.
Yeah. There you go. And looks,
I need to change this one. Wait a minute, what did I say this map was? Yeah, okay, it's map 2. I'm gonna have to look this up real quick.
yep.
Tori is really good to work with. She does prints for surveyors for free.
Oh, wow. Pretty nice. Was that whose picture that was that came up?
No, she's the assessor.
Oh, okay. Well, you keep Miss Tori happy. Bake her a loaf of bread or something.
American Public University System. Okay, so
Now you might be able to copy and paste text from those things too, but either way. And now since it was, there you go.
oh shoot, I forgot to look up the deed book and page number.
Make sure you take that extra space out of that. Well, it won't matter because it's left justified. Okay.
Out of what?
Yeah, there's a space after the period in INC, but it won't matter because it's left justified. If it were centered, it would throw that line off a little bit.
Yeah, I need to get that, go back and get that, the right deed book and
Yeah.
page. Tori has won all kinds of statewide mapping prizes.
And does she work for the assessor or for the county or?
Yeah, she's employed by the county, directly by the assessor.
Oh, good,
The assessor is smart enough to keep her happy.
good. Now, what is her background? Is she a surveyor or anything like that, or?
She has a 2-year degree in civil engineering. She used to work for an engineering company in Kaiser, West Virginia. And at one point she wanted to be a surveyor, but then got into this mapping job. And, you know, the pay isn't great, but the benefits are wonderful. You're in the state retirement program.
Yep.
You get your insurance for you and your spouse paid for. You get every holiday known to man. So it's an easy system to get trapped into.
Well, it's not a bad system. I tell you what, at this end of my career, I would
Yeah,
want
I've had the same thought. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I saw, are you on LinkedIn by any chance?
I used to be, once it started being a place where people would start spewing all their political crap, I got tired of it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they had an ad from the city of San Francisco and it's basically they're looking for a surveyor. They call it something else, but the salary is $212,000 a year. You know what the trick is?
No.
You can't afford to live anywhere within a 2-hour.
Oh, yeah.
$212,000 means you can't live there.
Right. Oh,
because
man.
it's so expensive. So you'd have a 2-hour commute. Maybe at some point in your life, a 2-hour commute would be worth it, but
Yeah, I don't know.
traffic in California is horrible. So I mean, it would be a miserable 2-hour commute.
Well, yeah, and San Francisco right now is not a place to live, I tell you. They got people living on the streets and all that. Now, you've got that other adjoiner down there over the tracks.
Oh, yeah, that one just needs to go. I think that's it. Well, I need to put mapping, a couple of grid ticks
All right.
on the map. So would I do that in model space?
Yeah, we will, but while you're still looking at the legend, you've got one of your point things that doesn't have a description on it.
Well, that would be an interesting,
Was, yeah, and you're gonna change those.
I've got to go back and change those to Shepp capped rebars.
Yeah,
So I can call that almost anything and be,
is it,
how would I put something in there? Click it in
Well-
empty space?
yeah, no, I'll show you in a second. Is that used anywhere? Do you have any of those open circles?
I don't think so.
Well, then I wouldn't put it in the legend.
Just take it out altogether.
Yeah. Now but before you do that though, here's what you do. If you select one of those icons
Yeah,
in the legend, you see it's just a block and it's placed there and each one is individual. Select one of the descriptions now, press escape and then select one of the descriptions. That's just a line of text, okay? So just like we were doing in the title block, what we would want to do is to copy that and then we would copy it from the insertion of the one above it to the insertion one below it, and then we'd line it up, on the left, and we would, you could also line it with the block itself. So that's basically just individual lines of text and they're setting off, to the right.
okay.
So that's how you would do that. So now I would select that one circle and just get rid of it. And now we want to move all of those other things up to close up the gap. So I would do a crossing to get everything, including the descriptions. All right. Well, I would leave the grid tick. You could leave that alone, maybe that. Well, yeah. I don't know. Let's do that. Yeah, get everything. Come all the way down to the grid tick, get it all. There you go. That should cover it. And now I would say move. And we're going to move it from the base point. Let's pick the insertion point of one line of text and go to the insertion point of the line above it. So we're going to go, nope, you got to get one below there so you can grab the one up. There you go. Go from that insertion point, click, and we're going to go back to the insertion point again and get the one above it. Just that line, the one line of text right there. No, go, no, down. Right, keep right there, click. Okay, so see, it took it from the insertion point of where that second line was and moved it up to the insertion point of where the line above it was. So it moved everything up and that should cover us. And if we wanted to, then we could say, select that and grab this middle line and just sort of, I'm going to hold the shift key down and just close it up a little bit. All right, so now you're all good to go, except we need to put the grid ticks in and label them. So let's do that. Let me see if do we keep the layers that this is on layer grid. All right, so we want to we could do it in here, but let's go back over to model space right now. I'll let you do that and let's put it in to model space and
Put it on the, change the
yes, change that to grid. And just double click it. There you go. And now we want to run that command to draw the grid ticks. And let's see, where did we find that? Under the annotate would be where I would start looking for it. I think that's where it is.
Draw grid.
Yeah, draw grid. We're going to take a look at the settings. They're probably okay from the last time. It says pick or type the lower left corner. So come down there below the tracks. Yeah, I would, I would even go outside of it a little bit. And then we'll see what shows up if we need to move anything. So we click once. And now the upper right. So go what, yeah, like in the, yeah, that's probably good. Now we're going to, you see the grid interval, it's going to go to every 1,000 foot, or you might want it 200 feet or 500 feet. I don't know how, I don't know what your, I wouldn't put it at 1,000 because it could be that nothing shows up. I would maybe change that at least to 500. We might even need to set it down to 200, but we'll see. All right, so that's good. We've got the layers are good.
What's the split coordinate layout?
Not exactly sure. Let's take a look, see if help does it for us. Does it say use split coordinates layout? Let's see if it tells us use for
What's
name.
the thousands digits above the grid line and the hundreds digits below the grid line?
Where,
That doesn't.
where did you see?
Huh?
Where did you see it?
Where it says
Oh, there it is. Yeah. What's the thousands above the grid line and the hundreds below?
I don't see it that gives us anything.
Yeah, I think that's just
So close it.
yeah. All right, so we're going to label the grid. We're going to offset scalar, so it's going to offset 1/10 along the grid. 2/100 away from the grid line. The text size will be 0.1. We might want to make that 0.08. Go ahead. All right, and this title block exclusion, we're not worried about that because all of our title blocks over in paper space. Now the label prefix north is going to have an N and a space. Same thing for east, E and the space. That's what we want.
Okay.
All right, and then the layout of the ticks would be on the interior of that frame that we picked. If we said perimeter, it would only put it out there on the, it would label them out there on the edges, but we want them in the interior. And we want northern and easting, not latitude, longitude. All right, so let's give that an okay and see what happens. All right, so we got one way down there. Let's see something. I'm going to isolate those layers and see. Yeah, see, nothing showed up. This is the only one that was within, and this one up here. So I'm going to unisolate, and I'm going to erase by layer those things there. And let's change our spacing. So we're going to run that command again. So now you can either just hit enter and it will keep the same. There you go, and hit enter again, and it will keep that same. Now, instead of 500 up there, let's change that to, oh, I don't know. You can try 200 200 will give us some, I think, or 250 or whatever you want to call it. Now, wait a minute, before you hit okay, I wanted to see. It seemed like something was like way off. The tick size, that's good.
It looked to me like the labels were way off from the ticks.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out myself here. I'm looking at this offset scaler. See, we label the grid. Offset scalar along the grid as a 10th. And from the grid is 200. Those should be okay. Well, pull down that grid format a minute and let me, where it says ticks only. And I think that's ticks and full grid. Okay, so we want ticks only. That's fine. Layout of ticks, interior and
You said perimeter only, what would that do?
Say again?
If you said one of the options there was perimeter only, what would that do?
I think it would draw the little ticks inside this square just along the edges, and then the implication being that you would put down a straight edge and draw your line across. And so we want to make sure we have ticks. What was, let me see here, see, full grid would draw them. Perimeter only would only put the ticks out here as they crossed this perimeter and not put the interiors. And then the ticks only. I think I know what's going on with the labeling. I think the labeling only goes out here and it doesn't come in and label each individual tick. So if we say, okay, yeah, see how these labels are up here?
Yeah.
So it only labels it around the edges. And if we want something that's on our interior, like we're going to have maybe this one and this one, are the only two that are going to show up. So that northing would apply for this one. So now, since that's just a piece of text, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to click out here and I'm going to hold the shift key down and I'm going to drop one right there. We'll come back and fix that in a minute. And then I'm going to do another one out here. And then I'll hit enter. And now I'm going to move the eastings up. So I've got this one and this one. And I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to click from out here in space, hold my shift key down and come up to it in here. Now I'll hit enter. Now I'm going to come back and take a look at where did that go? Oh,
Where did it go?
remember when I did erase by layer?
Oh,
Okay, so let me see. I can't just do an oops. Let me see here a minute. I need to. Well, we'll copy these.
let me move this adjoiner name. Oh, there's one up here. There's that one from,
Where was what?
I was just looking at that legend up there to see
Yeah,
what.
those are just leftovers, but now apparently that everything like that frame around the legend must have been on that layer too. All right, so let's, I'm gonna undo a bunch of things here. All right, now let me find, this is on grid. Let's change that and put that on
Legend.
legend. And I'm going to also put these on legend so that they don't go away the next time. All right, and we're showing it in that fashion. The northing and the easting lined up even with the text. Now, back to model. We'll come back out and draw it again. And we'll keep the default corners. We'll say, was 200, you think okay?
Yeah.
So we'll say, okay, there they are. Now we're going to copy this guy. Click once, hold the shift key, get him over here close, and do the same thing here. We'll adjust them in just a second. We hit enter. We now take the northing, or the eastings rather, and we copy them from here. We come up and put it there. Hit enter. And now we're going to move this guy down and just to the right. And this guy over like that. And do the same thing here. Yeah, 432, 800 to 433. There we go. And the next 200 is up here. So that wouldn't show. Now this I noticed was peeking out the edge of our frame. So I'm going to just take these. I don't have to move all three of them. I really only needed to move that one, but just for yucks. And I'll move it. I'll click, hold the shift key so it's off. So it's off camera, so to speak. Now we go back to final plat. That's there. And we see that there. And we'll move this. That makes sense there, or do we want it down?
Doesn't really matter. Yeah, that may be better right there. Yeah, that looks good, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so this, the coordinates imply the spacing, so we don't, that's off here. We don't need another one to set it this way because it's regular Cartesian. I think we're in good shape. All right, so there we go.
Save it. And I think we're good to go.
All righty, well, I mean, you can fix up your notes and any of that kind of stuff you need, or your notes, that may be all you need. I don't know.
Yeah, probably is.
So.
And I've got to get ready for my cardiac rehab.
All righty.
By the way, they told me that they're kicking me out of cardiac rehab next week.
Been too good a student.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. Good for you. That's good news. Yeah, my daughter up in Cleveland, my little Uber liberal up in Cleveland. She's the one that gets mad at me because I watch Fox News. But she was the one squawking about the pandemic and the unvaccinated and all this. And so I'm personally vaccinated and boosted and everything. I just don't like mandates, but and so she is as well, but turns out she and my little grandson both wound up with COVID. So he was fine. He had the sniffles. He's over it. She's still a little bit under the weather, but getting better. So far, hubby hasn't gotten it yet, so we'll see. So, all righty. Well, I think that's good. We did do a save. We might as well do another one. And yeah, and don't forget when you save, another thing, when you give this to the architect,
Yeah.
I would, take all of this stuff out
Oh, yeah.
on
Yeah,
the
I will.
sides.
But I'll
Yeah.
just take it off of that drawing.
Go ahead and take it off of this.
No, I'll just take it off of.
Yeah,
the
take it
drawing.
off the architect's drawing, and that way if you ever use this for something else, you've got those to borrow from.
Right.
And you can get rid of that. You can even get rid of these little grid ticks, but they won't hurt anything. That lets him know exactly what you're doing. Now,
Right.
if we, let's see, how would that look? Would we want to maybe think about this as a, for instance?
Yeah, that's probably better.
And then,
Probably the bar scale is kind of hanging out in a weird place too.
true. So you could do it like here, or you can even come down here, or
Yeah, I'd say down there.
like this.
Yeah.
There we go. So that's there. You ignore these up there. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward here. I'll say that. And just to take a peek, let's plot it. And it's Adobe PDF. Say okay. And is that where it would normally go?
Yeah.
Now let's take a, so that's what it's going to look like. Nice and clean.
Now that's weird. I don't remember it having all of this stuff on the copy before. Oh, it isn't on the copy, or is it?
All of this stuff over here, you mean?
Yeah.
That's just part of Adobe.
Okay, it's part of the PDF.
Yeah, no, it's not part of the drawing. It's only what you're seeing within here.
Just for laughs, let's measure our distance
Yes.
from here.
All right. So let's see.
You just have to guess.
Nope. No, there's a measure tool. Oh, and this would close that completely off. Let's see. It might be under. And let's see, under more tools for a minute, we have. Measure. Okay, so measuring tool. We're going to go from cross. Problem is, it makes those texts so damn small. All right, that's one, looks like 1.75. Yeah, so
Yeah, gives you the distance down in the bottom,
Right, right. So I'm seeing that. So that's 1.75. And then we'll do that again from this. Oh, I gotta grab it up here. So if I go from here across. uh, Yeah, 0.5. So that looks like it's half inch around, 1.75 inches on the left. And what was our sheet size? 24 by 18. All right, so that should be 24 by 18 with 1.75 inch binding edge and 1/2 inch around top, right, and bottom.
Okay, we're good to go then.
Go. Another fine job. Put it in the books.
Okay. I will, I probably need some help on another project next week if you're available. Let me know what your schedule is.
Yeah, I should be without a whole lot of problem. Let me see. I've got Monday mornings tied up. I'm supposed to teach a hydro on Friday, but I'm sure nobody's coming for that. So it looks good. Anytime you're ready, just let me know.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, sir,
You are welcome. I will.
and have a good
Uh,
weekend.
Yeah, you do the same. I'm gonna turn our stuff off here and
And you're gonna send me a link to the recording?
I'm trying to find where I can, there it is.